The tune Autumn Leaves by Joseph Cosma is popular amongst people who are learning jazz, and it's pretty much on the set list of most bands. If you go into a bar and there's some jazz playing, very often Autumn Leaves is there. Now this is a jazz standard, which means that it is actually, the tune is really simple because it was designed to be sung. We've got to keep this in mind when we're playing a solo. We don't want to go all guns blazing with this. We need to sort of hark back to the subject matter of the tune and the vocals, that vocal line. Let's have a look. I have a backing track for Autumn Leaves here, and I'm just going to play the tune as it stands, just the head, if you will. That's what it's known as in jazz terms. Okay, so it's a really easily memorized tune. La, da, 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 la, da, 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 la, da, da, da. It just basically, it's pretty predictable. Now, soloing wise, actually you can play the G minor pentatonic across all of this. If I just speed it up a little bit, let's just sort of really ramp it up. I'm just going to show you that with all the chords work over this G minor blues scale or pentatonic. And the rest of the chords are actually the same chords but in a different order. So you can see instantly that actually if you're getting into learning jazz, actually you can play your blues scale. You've got a safe haven to return to. So if things are going, you could just return to your blues scale. Now G minor is the key. And all of the chords basically are pretty much related to that key. G minor has, well, natural minor has 2 flats. However, with a minor mode, like this, that's the natural minor, you could also have the Dorian mode, which has a different sixth to the natural minor that I've just played. You also have other modes, but actually the Dorian and the Aeolian or natural minor are the ones that you would mainly be using here. But we have also the potential for the harmonic minor. Because actually we've got a D7 chord, which has that F sharp in it. So you have to sort of change things a little bit as you're going, but generally speaking, you can use the G minor as, well, you could use the Dorian mode. If I play just, I'm going to start here, so it's a little bit higher up than the backing track, so it's not sort of lost in the bass end. It's not necessary to complete the scale, it's good practice to sort of work out how it goes, but that was the harmonic minor, the Dorian. Let's see what happens if I use that scale all the way through. Okay, so it's revealing problems already. Now that C minor 7, which is chord 4 in G, has got an E flat in it, which means you'd need to include that in your scale really. But F7 is the same. We've got an E flat there as well. B flat major 7, you could use a sharpened 11 here. So you could use your E there. E flat major 7, you wouldn't use an E flat at all because it's right next to your major 7th. You wouldn't have. So we've got to be a little bit careful. Now, the minor scale, generally speaking, has the first 5 notes the same in all of those forms. It's only the 6th and 7th that are altered with all of these combinations that result. You've got the Dorian mode, which has got a natural 6th and a flattened 7th. You have the Aeolian or natural minor mode, which has the flattened 6th and flattened 7th. And then you have the harmonic minor, which has got a flattened 6th and a raised 7th. And then you actually have things like the melodic minor ascending, which has both the 6th and 7th actually natural. Like that. And if you're playing a melodic minor scale in sort of classical terms, it actually changes coming down from going up. That's the only scale that is actually different going up and down. So I've got to be a little bit careful when I go sort of further north than the 5th. So you've got all these combinations. Now, of course, you could actually work this to your advantage. You could play a chromatic scale. If you're not sure, a note that's sort of, if you land on a note that's not really working, you could actually use a chromatic. Let's try that. So basically I sort of played a chromatic and kind of landed on a note that worked. It's fine to play chromatics. You can go for a short time. It sort of starts to get a little bit predictable, but it can be a really clever way of getting from one note to another when actually in between there could be several possibilities. Now I'm just going to slow the tempo down a little bit and just play an entire form using this idea. Okay, so there's something that I can get through. However, there's too many notes really there. We could halve that amount and phrase it so that actually it sort of sings along with the chord sequence. Let's see what happens with that. So halving. On iOS here I've got the Gypsy Jazz version of Autumn Leaves, which is actually, it leaves plenty of silences. The chords are really dit, 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 dit. You haven't got all these sort of rhythms to worry about with the piano or things getting in the way. So it allows you to actually try rhythmic things as well, because you've got a straight ahead beat. So let's try something like that. So I can use lots of offbeats or triplets or anything. Now something like that, it's all legitimate. If it's something that's fast and you sort of make something of it, and then go somewhere else. And leave a little gap. It's really actually a very good idea to practice what's known as fours in jazz, where you actually take turns in soloing. So if you're practicing on your own, just play over 4 bars, leave the next 4 bars blank for the imaginary sax player you've got with you, or pianist or whatever, and then come in with something else. And it's a really good idea because it means that you have to phrase, you have to think, oh, I've got 4 bars, what am I going to do with that 4 bars? Don't aim to put mega amounts of notes in there, but it's just thinking in sort of global terms about how this works. Now, things like on guitar, of course, you've got specific things like bends, both up and down, pulls and hammer-ons and that sort of thing, and of course vibrato. And it just means you've got other things at your disposal. It means you don't have to you don't have just notes, for example, like pianos. You can't tune or do any vibrato, so you have to come up with different ways of expressing, and it could be that there's lots of dynamic contrast, or you could have chords in the left hand. Of course, if you're a pianist, you will be providing chords as well, which makes it a little bit more difficult. So there we are. There's a little take on Autumn Leaves and a few solo bits and pieces in between. Indeed, it's also a really good idea to see how few notes you can use to create a solo. For example, if I've got my G minor, let's leave out the first note because it's the root note of your final chord. So let's see what happens with this. Just those 3 notes. I'll play you out with this.